Welcome to the deep dive. If you're rolling down the road right now, or maybe getting ready for your next run, well, this one's really for you. Our mission today is to try and cut through some of the noise and give you the clearest, most urgent info on what's hitting the industry. Stuff like sudden rule changes hitting your wallet, and frankly, some immediate personal safety concerns too.
Yeah, we're pulling directly from our sources here, and the main message seems pretty clear. If you want to find, sustainable success and actually feel respected out there, you've got to look at these challenges from all sides: policy, personal well-being, and of course, the financial angle. They're all connected.
Exactly. So we've kind of broken this down into three main areas. First, the tough economic stuff, these huge cost spikes, regulations shifting under our feet. Then we're going to pivot hard into the human side. Some really shocking safety risks, unfortunately, and also the big push for inclusion. And finally, we'll get to the long game. How drivers are finding a sense of mission, and maybe more importantly, building that financial cushion to get some control back.
Right. And let's jump straight into those financial shocks because, well, when policymakers need cash, it often seems like truckers end up footing the bill, doesn't it? We really need to talk about this Illinois situation. It's being called a miserable blow.
Okay, let's unpack that right away. We're talking about a massive toll hike, right? Like 30% for commercial trucks, kicking in January 1, 2027. And it's not just a one-time thing, is it?
No, definitely not. Starting in 2029, they've basically baked in automatic increases every couple of years, tied to the consumer price index up to 4%. So yeah, it's financial compounding, but working against carriers this time.
Wow. And the costs involved are pretty staggering.
Yeah, the scale is huge. We saw a quote from Mike Moran. He's the CEO of Moran Transportation Corp. And he figures his company alone is looking at about $360,000 extra per year, just in tolls. That kind of hit to the margin. Well, it's tough. He basically said smaller fleets are either going to suffer badly or, might just go under trying to absorb it.
$360,000. That's unbelievable. So why? What's the justification they're giving for this?
Well, politically, it was sort of wrapped up in a package to bail out Illinois' public transport systems. They needed funding badly, and lawmakers pointed out, look, tolls haven't gone up in 13 years. But really, if you step back, it's basically a hidden tax on the supply chain.
Okay, explain that. For the listener who isn't running a huge fleet, what does a supply chain tax actually mean? Where does that $360,000 go?
Well, it doesn't just vanish, right? It gets passed along in freight rates. When it costs carriers way more per mile to operate, the cost to move everything goes up. So yeah, every driver pays more in the end. And eventually, you and I see higher prices at the store. And Moran also brought up a really dangerous side effect. Drivers trying desperately to avoid these tolls, they'll start using local roads more. Think Lake Cook Road or Route 83 roads, just not designed for heavy truck traffic. That means more congestion, more wear on local roads, and frankly, more risk for everybody.
So rising costs are pushing drivers onto riskier roads.
Okay. Now let's shift to the regulatory side, because that's causing a whole different kind of instability, right, with driver supply.
Yeah.
We're talking about that FMCSA interim final rule, the IFR, the one aiming to stop states issuing new CDLs or CLPs to non-domiciled applicants.
Right, but that rule got challenged pretty quickly. The stated goal was, integrity, safety, worries about verifying foreign driving records. But a federal appeals court put a temporary hold on it back on November 10, 2025. What's really interesting, though, is what else might have been motivating the supporters groups like OID and the FMCSA besides just safety.
You mean the capacity break. Let's not just gloss over that. What exactly is that, and why would that be a strategic goal? It's pure market mechanics, really. We've been stuck in this freight recession for years, right? Too many trucks, not enough loads, so rates just tank. So the idea is if you restrict the number of new drivers coming in, you tighten up capacity, less supply, same demand, hopefully rates go back up, back to levels where existing carriers and owner-operators can actually make a decent profit. It's a deliberate move to try and shift that supply-demand balance.
And the folks challenging it, the opponents, they're arguing it unfairly blocks legal workers, people like asylum seekers, DACA recipients, trying to work legally.
Yeah.
And they're also questioning if the safety data really backs up such a broad restriction.
Exactly. And this whole back and forth rule, announced, challenged, put on hold, it just creates uncertainty. Carriers, recruiters, drivers, nobody can really plan. Your assumptions about driver supply are just shaky. It really underlines that the whole economic picture is volatile. It forces every driver to think about their own preparation, their own flexibility, no matter how the FMCSA rule finally shakes out.
Speaking of preparation, let's transition from prepping for rule changes to prepping for, Well, actual physical danger. Because the threats aren't always financial. We have to talk about that really alarming incident down in Tucumcari, New Mexico.
Yeah, this one's pretty chilling. It's a stark reminder of how vulnerable you can be out there. August 20th, a driver from North Dakota, Clay Applegarth, was asleep in his sleeper near Tucumcari, and someone just shot into his truck. A 9mm round actually grazed the back of his neck.
And the really shocking part is, this wasn't about a load dispute or road rage or anything he did. It sounds like it was just random violence,
Yeah.
aimed at a parked truck.
Completely random, and that randomness points to maybe an uncomfortable truth the sources really hit on. His dash cam was the only thing that gave justice a chance. It caught the car silver Nissan, black spoiler, and that helped police track down and charge a 20-year-old, Dadrian Rayosco, with aggravated battery shooting from a vehicle. Without that dash cam footage, probably would have been an unsolved case.
So if the threat can be random and potentially deadly,
Yeah.
the preparation has to change too, right? It can't just be about pulling over when your hours of service are up. Parking becomes, well, potentially a life or death decision. What does that mean practically?
It means parking strategically, assessing the environment, If you have to stop, you need to pick places that are highly visible, well-lit, secured, if at all possible, hiding away in dark, quiet corners. That's just not safe anymore. It might even mean sometimes balancing that HOS clock against your immediate safety needs. It's about reducing risk by being seen.
And that need for secure, visible parking. It ties directly into the whole conversation about inclusion and respect, doesn't it? Especially for women truckers. Secure parking isn't some kind of luxury item. It's basic. It affects everyone, but maybe especially the fastest growing group of drivers out there.
Oh, absolutely. And we are seeing progress there. Women are now, 9.5% of professional drivers, and much higher in management roles, like 34.5% of supervisors, 28% of C-suite execs, according to the 2025 index. So, yeah, there's positive movement.
But the roadblocks are still there. Outdated attitudes sometimes. But fundamentally, facilities matter. Clean bathrooms, safe places to stop, and yes, secure, well-lit parking.
Yeah, the sources really highlighted the role allies need to play, specifically men, saying they hold the keys to going further in making the industry truly welcoming. And it comes down to practical things, mentoring female drivers, actually speaking up if you hear comments that cross the line, pushing management for policies that prioritize safety for everyone, not just efficiency. And, if we tackle that need for secure parking universally, we help solve the random violence issue and a major barrier to inclusion at the same time. It just makes the job safer and better for everybody.
That culture shift, that's the long game, isn't it? And that long game takes resilience. It takes having a sense of mission. It's tough to stay positive when you're looking at $360,000 toll hikes or, God forbid, bullet holes in your sleeper.
Yeah.
Which is why stories like Don Cruise's, they feel really important right now.
Don Crouse's. Yeah, he's like a real touchstone for the industry, 75 years old, 52 years driving. And he found his mission. Since 2014, he turned his rig into this incredible rolling memorial for U.S. veterans. He does runs for wreaths across America consistently.
His motto is remember, honor, teach. And that sense of purpose, that provides resilience, doesn't it? It also shows younger folks considering this career that it can be more than just hauling freight. It can have real meaning.
But, mission alone doesn't pay the bills or guarantee your future. When you add up the costs, the risks we've talked about, it brings the conversation right back to managing your time. Not just for the shipper or the broker, but managing your time for your own long-term security.
Right. And that brings us to this really critical, actionable idea the sources are pushing. How to deal with all the tough stuff, the pain and suffering, as one source put it. Building a financial shield. And the solution they're highlighting is training truckers as many as possible on using AI. Using AI to create extra income streams, recurring income, during their off-duty time.
Yeah, and this isn't just some buzzword. It's about practical autonomy. Why AI? Well, it's a leverage skill. The startup costs are low. You don't need a warehouse or lots of equipment. And it's flexible. You can work it around HOS rules, around long hauls. This financial shield, it protects you from the market swings. If rates drop again, or if that toll hike finally pushes your carrier over the edge, you have options. You're not trapped.
Okay, but AI income streams. What does that actually look like? Can we give listeners a clearer picture than just online income?
Sure, it's about using these new AI tools to maybe automate digital services or create digital products. Think about using AI to help write specialized content or manage social media for small businesses, maybe develop niche online courses. Things that, once set up, don't require constant active time. The big goal, really, that the sources talk about is making sure you retire when you want to retire, not when the market or the next regulation forces you out.
And that feels even more urgent when you think back to that $4.9 million training earmark in North Carolina we saw mentioned. If that money does flood the market with new drivers, competition gets even tougher. So for experienced drivers already out there, having this kind of financial backup, this off-duty income plan, it stops being a nice to have
Yeah.
and becomes pretty essential for stability, right? For keeping your edge.
Absolutely. Look, the road is changing fast. The instability is coming from all sides, political fights over who gets to drive, soaring costs like those tolls, and sadly, these random dangerous threats. The only things a driver can really truly control are their own preparation, both for immediate safety and for their long-term financial freedom.
And that's really the core message for you listening right now. The power you have is in how you use the time you control. We know this industry is volatile, so maybe the biggest act of respect, the best support you can give yourself and your family is building that financial independence, learning new skills, maybe like using AI for side income, so you decide when and how you step out of the cab, not the market deciding for you.
Right. So if we accept that technology like AI can be used right now to build flexible income for drivers, what's the next skill? What new thing will the industry demand you start learning in your downtime tomorrow? Definitely something to think about as you prepare for whatever is down the road.